Hello there, all, and welcome again to another edition of Owl Theory. And today we are going to be with my mother here to my left or to my right, depending on how you're looking at it, Dorita Williamson, as well as my uncle. Yes. Uncle Reggie Johnson. So we're going to basically get right into it. Let's talk about their opinion on their wise lineage. So let's go. Mom, so here we are. We're missing some people today, unfortunately, due to other engagements. How is it that you guys were able to coexist in a family to be able to make sure that you were able to go to functions and schools for basically you and your siblings as well? How'd your mom juggle that? How'd your parents juggle that?
Well, mom was a very good organizer,
Mhm.
and she trained us to get up, get ready, and get out. In
Mhm.
my generation, which I'm older than Reggie, but in my generation, we had to walk everywhere. Elementary school was close by, but our middle school was probably about a mile and a half away. And winter, spring, summer, fall, whatever, we had to walk.
Mhm.
And so you knew you had to get up early, and she always made sure we had some sort of cereal for breakfast. So we had something for breakfast. Her breakfasts were more elegant on the weekend, but she always made sure we had something before we left. And then we just go. She we once we got into a routine, we knew what to do. After elementary school, we knew what we were supposed to do, and we just did it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because because our older sisters would leave first. Mom goes to work, our older sisters would leave, and then we had to get ourselves. I mean, that mom made sure everything was together before she left, but then we had to get ourselves where we needed to go.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we did it as a group. We did not walk by ourselves.
Uh-oh, Uncle Reggie, what's this?
During my generation.
Okay, during her generation, that might have been true. I
Mhm.
know mine is basically when it's time to go, you need to go. You ain't worried about your friends, even though they went to Pearlie, Thomas Jefferson Junior High School, and Adams. When it's time to walk, I mean, when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've walked that. Even my grandkids get tired of me telling them that the difference between the ones who are below me. They don't want to hear this story about walking. What happened to the car? No, mom and dad had to work. So
Let me
that means the
correct
kids have
one
to
thing.
feel
By the
free.
time Reggie was a senior, he had a car.
I
He
remember that.
Yeah,
I plead
his
the fifth. I
mom
remember that.
had he was driven. When he was in high school, I'm like,
Uh-oh,
I
uh-oh.
showed them. Well, I'll sit there and say,
but
I
he
don't
was.
remember that because I remember doing a whole lot of walking, but I understand that some things Dorita might have known before she left the house. Yes.
Well, that's why I say that so many times that depending on where you are in the line of
Yes.
siblings, very rarely what the oldest was privy to, the youngest one definitely
Yes.
got way more lax and lenient than,
Yes. So I
yeah.
give her that. I will give Dorita that. Yes.
Uh,
My mom loved her boys, and she spoiled them. But
uh-oh.
let me say this. Let me say this. It wasn't that she loved us less. She just felt we didn't need as much attention as her boys did. And sometimes they prove that by being rambunctious, and the fact that I had two younger brothers that were ill.
Mhm.
One of them she lost,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that made her more protective, more giving more attention to her boys because her girls were all fine.
Then what was wrong with Zachary?
He had, well, before you were born, up until he was 5 years old, he had convulsions. They called them convulsions, but it was like epileptic seizures.
Okay.
That's what they call them today. But
Yes.
when he was born, from infancy, he had those epileptic seizures, and she was that took a lot of her time. And I remember seeing him do that, she had to put something on his tongue to make sure it was, yeah.
Mhm.
But
Ooh, okay.
so by the time Reggie came along, she was very
Protected.
guarded with him. He was the baby. She was guarded. But it took me a long time to understand that. It really took me a long time to understand why
Absolutely.
she was so. I felt like, honestly, I knew she loved me,
Mhm.
but she didn't have time for me because because of her boys.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about that. So,
Mhm.
Uncle Reggie, Grandma Violet is a young woman, and the age of who's first, Aunt Jeanette or Aunt Dorothy?
Dorothy.
Aunt Dorothy, that's what I thought. So she has Aunt Dorothy in what year
Mhm.
is this?
Hold on. I think that was 1942.
1942. Okay.
Yes.
So roughly
Yeah, she had
When was Jeanette born?
Jeanette was born in 47.
Okay. Okay.
James was born in 53. Tony was born in 53. Then not his sister over there. She's born in 55.
Right.
Victor born in 58.
Are
Zachary
you
59
telling
and me in
my age,
61.
man?
I'm sorry, Uncle Reggie, come back and tell me again who's after mom.
Oh, after your mom became Victor, he passed away. He was born in 58, but he died in 58.
Oh,
Zachary was born in 59. He died in 1977. And then me.
okay.
Who
Okay.
was born in?
I was born in 61, but I know more than everybody else. So
The baby, the
60
baby.
61, 10 years before my birth in 71.
yes, yes. That's why sometimes when your mother and I talk, is that we sit there or my wife asks me questions, I sit there and tell her when my first set of nieces and nephews were born, I know that was too young. They didn't have no inflection on me. I wanted to ride my bicycle. That's all I wanted to do when I was little. Once I got one, I was gone. So yeah, they were in the house. I would have never known.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So here we are. We have Aunt Dorothy
Mm-hmm.
and then Aunt Jeanette
Mm-hmm.
and then Uncle James.
Mm-hmm.
And so along comes you now, Mom, right?
Mm. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me see.
Now, Mom,
Yes.
basically at this time you are the youngest daughter. It looks like after that she does only have sons thereafter. So basically, how was your relationship in regards to the next child, which would have been Uncle
Victor.
well, Victor, but unfortunately he passed, correct? He
So
had,
exactly.
so it would have been Uncle Zachary.
Yes.
We were very close. I was 4 years older than him, and,
Mhm.
and him and I were buddies. We were, in fact, we looked more alike.
Mhm.
We resembled each other more. I
Mhm.
think Zachary looked more like my mother in some ways, but we were both, we had the both same skin tone. He had a big head like Reggie. They both were big headed, but as he got older, he looked more like dad.
Mhm.
But
Mm-hmm.
to begin with, because him and Reggie look a lot alike,
Mhm.
but he still had more features like mom. then and Uncle Reggie is like, to me, a carbon copy of Dad.
Mhm. Yeah. And so now, do you think that at this point that you took on a more responsibility as a caregiver to your younger brothers versus being the baby and kind of um being cared for by Aunt Jeanette or Aunt Dorothy?
How can I put this?
Yeah, buddy.
My sisters and my older sisters and brothers were active in things.
Okay.
I was the more laid back, more docile, nerdy, book smart. That was me. I was not the life of the party, and because my sisters and them or sisters and brother were more lively in the things that they were doing,
Mhm.
Mom made me responsible for my little brothers.
Mm.
And that was a chore because she felt I was more responsible because I was trying to make my mom happy. So I was the one who
Was a little bit more nurturing.
was, yes, and was made to look out for them, for the
Mm.
young ones. But us, on the same token, I remember when my sisters were older, my mom would make them drag me places I didn't want to go.
Oh. But it was their
Uh,
job to look after you.
But our mom and dad
Mhm.
were party people.
Yes.
They liked to drink, they smoked. Almost every weekend we had a party at our house with somebody over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Playing music, all kinds of stuff. Our house, even Reggie, I wish we had those videos because Mama had that bell and howl, and we had pictures of Reggie dancing. All it was so funny. It was the cutest little thing. But we were all dancers. Mama was a dancer,
Mhm.
so we had the party house. But
I
still,
know
Wow.
where I get it from. Hey.
Oh, okay.
so yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, great. So now, Uncle Reggie, now how do you remember that? Because do you remember mom being more of your caregiver, or was it maybe Aunt Jeanette, Aunt Dorothy?
Oh no. Okay. First thing off, you have to remember that when I was born, Dorothy Ann was already 19 years older than I was.
Mm.
Jeanette was 14. So technically, in a sense, Jeanette was getting her footing what she wanted to do. I don't remember her doing anything. She may have. Dorita can tell you better than I can. But when it comes to it, Dorothy was the one who was always there. When I was younger and growing up, Dorothy was there.
Mhm.
I mean, because I think it was because Dorita and them told me that she had issues, which I never knew she had. But that's the reason why Aunt Dorothy was there. So she was there. That's no problem. Because after a while, Jeanette went on to live their life somewhere else.
Mhm.
So that's why I sit there and said, when you were born, it's you, Maurice, Elliot, Kenya, and Annette. That's Violet Johnson's first grandchildren.
Mhm.
So every time she got it, y'all were there somewhere.
Right.
It just wouldn't with me because I was on my bicycle. But y'all was there at the house. There's pictures we got. So,
Yeah.
and there's a possibility if your Uncle James or your Aunt Janetta show people those pictures, then maybe you'll get a better perspective of what it was like back then. I can't tell you.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
I mean,
it
from your
depends on,
perspective, if you associate it with your siblings, you're saying, you know how you
oh,
associate with your
now that's,
siblings,
well,
with your
actually,
mom, with your dad.
well, you got to remember also at the same exact time between me and James, there's a minimum of 6 years. And according to our last owl meeting, James sat there and said that he was a rubber. I'll leave it at that point. So, but I understood my brother Zachary was here.
Yeah.
So whenever James decided to do Rugrat things and Zachary was with him, I admitted, hey, I told you y'all need to take me. Even though mama said I probably don't need to go, y'all need to take me or I'm telling mama. And then that's where James got stuck with me at times. So otherwise, hey, it was a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you and Uncle Zachary are more closer in age. Do you feel like you remember him a little bit more or kind of?
Well, yeah, because yeah, he was like 2.5 something years older than I was. Yeah, we were close. I thought we were close, but we led our own lives. Because
Right.
when Zachary got to do stuff once he got older, like I assume he used to help his friends out that used to be in Niles, Michigan, or other places like that.
Mhm.
Zachary was always gone at that point. So I hung out with him till I could. I mean, I hung on to my brother since he was closest to me
Yeah.
until he got into his accident.
Yeah.
Then it became a problem.
Yeah.
As
Absolutely.
far as I know, they were separate. They were two different individuals. They had their own personalities. Like I said, I was probably closer to Zachary than Reggie was.
Mhm.
Zachary was 4 years younger than me.
Yes.
But when I completely left home, because when Tasanji was born, then I left a little bit when you because I remember working in the factory and living out in Mishawaka when you and Kenya were little.
Okay.
So we lived. What was that? Oh gosh, I knew it just for a second there, but I worked in a factory and I was like 19 and I was going to college then too. I was working on my degree, going to school, and taking care of two little girls, and doing everything for them. So when I left doing that, Zachary then kind of they both had separate friends. They had separate relationships. There were ones who were close to Reggie, and Zachary had his, I remember them kind of leading separate lives.
Oh, okay.
Reggie, like you said, Reggie, that he had his life and you had yours, but when they were little, they kind of admired James. And so that's why they hung out, because they didn't have no
Yeah.
business with
Yeah.
James. I love my brother.
Yeah.
Love you.
That's the big brother that they had. So
That's why mom said, hey, you better watch them. You better I'm gonna whoop you if you don't keep them. And I had to sit on them a couple of times to make them butts stay home.
gotta do what you gotta do,
Gotta
Mom.
do what you gotta
And
do.
you don't want to get that switch after you. Absolutely
Switch.
not.
That ain't what our mama whooped us with, but we
No,
don't go into
no,
that.
no, I don't.
I didn't get
The,
no whoopings.
I will,
At least I tried not to.
no, I will say this. The thing that Violet Johnson that I remember is this: what she says goes. Now, be a fool if you want to and break that code. And what I mean by that is, if I tell you go out and get a switch, you come back with a little twig, she's coming back with the whole tree.
Yeah.
You're going to regret it. So it was better you to sit here and get something you don't like and literally just sit there and take the pain. Because I remember times mom telling us, I love you, but don't move. Because if you move, I'm swinging. You ain't going to like it.
Yeah.
So majority of the time you sat there, even though it stung, it hurt, you took the punishment you were supposed to take because you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, I can only speak for myself that when I went into the military, yeah, I know I signed up for because we were supposed to be getting drafted, but we didn't. When I got ready to go, the only person I could see that could save my neck out of the military was grandma. The only person. She couldn't stop him from coming to get me at midnight, telling me it's time to go to the MEP station. But her last words to me is, "You made a decision. You got to live with it."
Grandma who?
Mom,
Oh, okay.
not grandma.
I
Mom.
thought you were talking
My
about Grandma
grandma.
Debbie.
No, I'm talking to
My
Nikki, and Nikki, that's her
my
grandmother.
grandma. My
I'm
grandma.
like, wait a
Your
minute, Grandma could
Yeah.
do something.
No, not grandmother Debbie. I'm talking about Violet Johnson. So literally, whether or not it was a good decision, bad decision, she let me grow since I made that decision. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I learned from that.
Mhm. Now, with that said, we're talking, what you learned from your parents, what type of lessons grandma and grandpa were instilling in you. As far as education, obviously that's a big portion of that. Do you think that, she was pushing education to establish your own future and be able to look after yourself, or was she more lax in pushing education and pushing employment, being employed?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. When I was 16, Violet Johnson got me a job. And understand, it was a job doing dishes at the South Dining Hall of Notre Dame.
Mhm.
That's what she did for 2 years. That's probably where the car came in, because I could use her car at the time to get to and from school to go to work. Yes. All right. But otherwise, besides that, she did her best to make sure that you were more educated than us. And I say that because recently I have a folder of my father's military career, his whole entire military career, which was 6 years, 1 month plus days. Out of all that time, the line, even though my father never told me exactly to do this or that, technically, in a sense, I followed the same line he did, which he went into war. I mean, he signed up in 1939 for World War II. He signed up for special temporary duty in the Coast Guard. It was only supposed to be for 3 years. Ended up happening during the time that he was in, Pearl Harbor came up in 42. So he got involuntarily extended for 3 years while that was going on. And he finally got out in 46. So by that time, he has seen a whole lot more stuff than I've ever seen in my 20 plus years being in the military.
Right. Absolutely.
So I know that framed his mind from what he saw. But the only thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to track his travels. Sorry, I'm trying to track his travels from Smyrna, Georgia, all the way up to South Bend. Since I knew at that time men were going north for job opportunities.
Okay. Okay.
But it's been hard because our other cousins that we have, the older ones that now passed away, all his brothers, all Willie Johnson's brothers and sisters, I'm sorry, Willie Johnson's sisters have passed away. So there's nobody to provide me any context. I just got to go and try and see if I can connect to other cousins. But yes, I was thoroughly happy that mom made me live by my choice. Hey, Lord help. Go ahead.
For us, I don't know what Dad's school record was. I know Mom did not get an opportunity to finish high school, and she kept trying. Because her and Dorothy would go to classes at night for the longest, but they were never able to complete those. So she really encouraged us to at least get a high school diploma. I was just a different one. I wasn't going to be content with the high school diploma. I wanted more than that. Like I said, I was the nerd, the book, you know. Everybody liked scary movies. I didn't. Everybody liked wrestling. They all went. I stayed home. Well, I was all different. I was the different one. You know, I used to say, "Am I adopted? What's going on?" I did. I used to think,
The eyeball
why
out.
am I so different? Why am I so different? And I was very different. So, um, but mom was always there when we graduated from high school. She was so proud of us because we were able to get what she didn't get.
Yes.
And she did cheer me on because I could not have went to college without her taking care of my children.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
she didn't watch my kids for me to potty, but for whenever I worked and my kids weren't old enough to go to a daycare, uh, I trusted them with my sister, Dorothy.
Mhm.
And so that's who my kids stayed with
Mhm.
up until I was able to take them to a daycare or they started school, one or the other.
Mhm.
And even at that, after school, they were at either grandma's house or they were at mama's house, somebody's house. You know.
Yes, sir.
Mhm. Yes, I do remember that. Absolutely. I remember many times staying with my grandma and with Aunt Dorothy. Absolutely. Hey, French fries, the best meal ever, people. I mean, cut potatoes. It's
That they had a lot of French fries, and and the government cheese on it. Please,
Oh,
absolutely.
Lord help me.
Absolutely. I mean, that block,
Oh, yes. In the old
true
days.
stories,
Oh,
folks.
yeah.
I mean, to stand in line, I was never with that canned peanut butter though. Hey, that block of cheese was on point. I'm all for it.
it
Yes.
was the
It was
best
good
cheese
for grilled
ever.
cheese on our French fries. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes. Um, it worked. So with that said, obviously, like you say, we spent time with our grandmother almost as much time as we spent with our parents. Um, in context, like Uncle Reggie, do you think of us as your children, or do you look at maybe your older siblings sometimes as a step into your parents when they weren't available?
Okay. Regarding that question, the only one that would have been a step in would have been Dorita. Because guaranteed mom would have made her do it whether she wanted or not. My nieces and nephews, hey, like I said, I thought they was more look like little kids that's trying to figure out who are these people. I know their names. Why are they related to me? I don't know. Let me go. I asked mom to get on that bicycle. It's time to go.
But
So,
now that they're older though, and you're older and you
mm,
know context who we are, and
mhm.
we've been around a little bit now.
Oh, my nieces and nephews are wise beyond my young youth.
Mhm.
Wise, much wise. They work. Lord help me, they work. So they can have kids and still work. I'm so happy for them, and I'm blessed that they're here. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The cycle continues.
Yes.
Um, and I really appreciate that kind of keep us in the know and the genealogy and trying to continue to further our knowledge of where we come from, vastness.
Well, I'll see if you want to continue it because what you should have done is told your mama, and now that she's hung it up, she can't run from me. Your mother has a program that she could have gave you, and you could have used it to probably further put your stuff someplace where it could be in one spot and you could see it. I'm waiting on your mother to do that.
But we're working on it. So we're working on it. We'll get there. We just right now working on just kind of building our village, mending it, getting the information out there so that we can know that we can pass it on no matter if we are here in person or if, be at the great beyond.
That's true. That's
so
true.
so that's the beauty of this, the owl theory. That's the beauty of it. Here it is. and it's going to be there for the next generation to enjoy and to understand and come to know.
Okay.
So now we were talking about how, we were being disciplined, and in your time, how discipline went. And sometimes at this point, we kind of, we don't want to say, because today's discipline is quite different. Do you think there is a lax in it? Is that a positive? Is that a negative? And
Okay. The difference, well, I understand that times change, and you cannot discipline your children the way that we were disciplined. But also at the same exact time, when that talk about discipline, we talk about mouth. That's also changed between the older days and the younger days, which is basically in your mom's, my wife's, and my time, when they were before I was. In their time, it's just like E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton says something, you got to listen. Which is when Violet Johnson says something, there wasn't no asking, well, let me go ahead and second question that. No, you knew better than to do that. Do what you got to do. These days, I some of them, as I look on the internet, it says there's too many kids being grown up in the street without their parents. I don't know whatever reason. All this, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Okay.
But I do know one thing, that sometimes with your children, meaning yours, Nikki's, Kasim's, Kenya's, and all the kids, sometimes because of the outside influence, their mouth goes a little bit too far. Much more than it would have gone in the old days.
Right.
But each parent has to, with their own guiding principles, make sure that that child understands, I'm trying to give you the best. And I will give you the best until you turn grown. Once you turn grown, you're on your own.
And that's what I am going to say. For me, my children know me and they respect me. Number one, they would never curse around me. I can also talk to my children and my grandchildren about my grandchildren too. They don't ever curse around me. If they make a mistake, they apologize. Today, respect is out the door. You go to walk in a store, that person, kid, young person, or whatever goes in front of you, they shut the door right in your face. No common courtesy. And a lot of it stems from the parents. I hear over and over again how, number one, in school, you didn't have no disruptive child in your class because they get on them. When we were growing up, please, you know good and well, if you disrupt that class, you gonna get a paddling from your teacher and you gonna get home and get your butt whooped.
Yeah, they still did paddling when I was in school.
When you were
too.
in school?
So I still remember paddling when I was.
But I didn't have any, when that was, it wasn't like it was today. Today, kids are picking up guns, killing each other. Little kids go to school with guns. That never happened in our day. It never happened. Respect for other people's property, respect for life is out the door because discipline has changed. Discipline has changed. And now you're afraid to let your kids go outside.
Oh, Lord help me.
Because there's too many perverts. You put your kids outside, and next time you look, they're gone. And a lot of what you see, who are the perverts, are young people. Something is wrong with this picture. Wasn't like that in our day. If it was a pervert in the neighborhood, first of all, everybody knew about it and knew not to go. And it was a dirty old man. That's what it was. It was not young people. So
Hey, Nikki,
just
let
got
me,
really
my turn when you get a chance.
Things have gotten really bad nowadays. I don't know who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody. Oh, I was listening to one of y'all cast, one of your other podcasts, and y'all
Mhm.
were saying that the parents seem to be hating the children,
Mhm,
and the children hate the parents. That's
mhm.
not how families are supposed to be. Families are not united as they were before. We did stuff together. You know, we didn't have much money, but we went places, we did stuff together, and I constantly tried to build love for the family. And today we still are united. Even with our differences, we're still
Mhm.
that love is more important. That's not the way it is for all families,
Yeah.
sadly.
Yes.
And so in that regards, discipline was a little bit more accepted because it was done pretty much in love. You understood that this was done in love. Now that we've gotten away from the discipline, because unfortunately discipline is now could be a very much form of hate, from parent to child, mother to children, father to children, and unfortunately all the way around, and why we have so many domestic violence,
Yes.
you know.
Well, I will sit here and answer Dorita by this. In my time, when you probably have always heard me talk about me and my bicycle. We were gone. That's all I need to do. Mom sat there and said, "Don't let the light pole hit you in the butt." Didn't have to say no more than that. Every child knew what that meant, meaning be home. But in the neighborhood I was in, also that we were growing up, Violet Johnson knew a lot of people in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people watching out for us. So if Reggie did something wrong, not only could Reggie get his butt beat by that woman, more than likely that woman over there, that woman would say, "I'm going to call Violet and tell you I did this." My main fear in the world was to sit here and have one of mom's friends call her and tell her I did something.
Mhm.
So I learned from that not to do anything.
Oh yeah.
These days, I don't know what happened to that. I understand everybody's got to lead their life,
Yeah.
whether it's good, bad, or ugly. It's just like right now, just like today, I just seen in on the news, on the internet, in Tennessee, people having a picnic in a party. I mean, a picnic in a park, not bothering anybody, but all the food did was sit there, drive by, and shoot, and then run. Two people are now dead because of that. They wasn't bothering you, but the kids these days, I don't know. You can in my day that if you said the wrong thing to somebody, there was such thing as a fist fight. Yes, I know. You live with these. You die by these. You take your licks and go about their way.
Right.
These days, if I was to say the wrong thing to somebody, it don't matter what their age is, I gotta watch in my mouth because it may end up wrong and I'll be the one dead bleeding on the ground. And that person then went home.
Yeah. Well, with that said, I mean, I know this is a level of respect for what we consider one as their elders, a level of respect um, for something even a little bit higher than themselves. Do you think that some of this has to do with people getting away from the notion of God, of church, of spirituality, or is this just the end times and
I think it's just the times that we have. There's people right now who live by the Bible. There's some people who don't. Some people who live by knowledge that's been provided to them by their parent, or they're raised by the streets.
Mm,
I don't know where those places at, but there's got to be a whole lot more people being raised by the streets than being raised by the Bible.
And a lot of things have we're I believe it's it's the last days.
mhm.
That's my belief. We're living in the last days, and so things are going to get worse. But you can see the difference. Back in the day with our parents, okay, they had alcohol, they get drunk, blah 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 blah. Then the next generation, it was marijuana. Now it's hard drugs. People are, you know, they can't. Grandparents are parents today because of the use of methamphetamines and and mixing the drugs. And look, every time, every day, even people with money, suicide, 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 suicide. Kids killing themselves. Now kids don't kill themselves, they kill others, then they kill themselves.
Yes.
It wasn't like that. You need to have a strong family base that teaches the family love, that encourages it, saying no matter what happens, you stay together. That's what my mother was, that type of person. She wanted her children to interact, stay together. She didn't want no divisions. I'm the same way. I don't want nothing should take our love away. That's me. But not everybody is that way.
True.
And sadly, like for instance, I have a neighbor, and my neighbor is the sweetest, nicest person, and she's like 50. And she lost her daughter at a young age. She had a daughter. Her daughter was her best friend. They were real close. She lost her at a young age. And she has a son. Her son is worthless.
Mhm.
He talks to her any kind of way. He does stuff to her. And I can tell she's broken.
Mhm.
But I think the loss of her daughter made her accept her son's lifestyle. She can do nothing with it. He's a stone alcoholic, and he doesn't work. So she's basically taking care of him. One time I spoke to her, she said, I'm gonna sell the house and get so everybody can get out. She's always taking in people, and she's so unhappy. Plus, she has cancer.
So sad.
So negative things add to that. But if her son loved her, why would you do these things?
Yeah.
It's out the door. It's just so
Yeah.
I believe, well, the Bible says that we're living in the last days. They said it's 1 Timothy 3:1-5 said Second Timothy 3:1-5 said that we living in critical times, hard to deal with, and they are.
Absolutely.
Where I live, people have been in their bed sleep, and somebody shot through the doors. Some shooting. When I hear gunshot, guess where I go?
Under the bed, under a table, under
I
something.
don't even stay on the bed. I get down on the floor as low as I can. You
Absolutely.
just don't know. It's sad.
Not these days.
It
No.
like that.
Yeah,
It
very
did not.
very sad.
And just like Reggie said, hey, we stayed outside and played and laughed. We had a bunch of kids in our neighborhood. We played with them all. Everybody looked out for everybody. But it's just not like that anymore. You can't. I wouldn't dare put my grandkids outside, if the little ones, should I say
Oh Lord.
my great grands. I wouldn't dare put them outside knowing that
The nonsense.
the type of, I got one neighbor, she done threatened to kill me several times. So, and everybody who comes to my house, she cuss them out, calls them all kind of names. Do you think I want my grandkids subject to that?
No, not at all. No.
And this has happened for years.
Yeah, subject to that.
So
Yeah.
you can't, it's different. It's a total different society. It just last days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can see that. I mean, and education, I definitely feel like is key on so many fronts. I mean, here we are in a situation where um education, you know, the more that you have, the more economically well off in this time and age that you possibly can be. So with that, do you think that we are generating generations of giving? You know, is this the reason why we're saying that there seems to be so much hatred towards each other? How do we generate a generation of giving back to the community, of staying family oriented, of being focused on um, having empathy for each other, love for each other as a family, as a community? Ooh.
I think it starts with, that's a hard question.
Uh-oh. I know I took a
Because it starts with the parents.
Mhm.
I think about my grandchildren. If what you promote, you know, some of the greatest people in the world, the greatest pianos, their parents encourage them to work. The greatest minds, their parents encourage that. Now, I've got some highly intelligent grandchildren, great grandchildren. But what is their parents encouraging for their life? It's got to start. It's got to be positive encouragement, because and the sad part is you can't protect your children from the world. They're gonna be out there.
Mhm.
Time and unforeseen occurrence. But what you can do is do your best to teach them what is right, and and what rewards are there from doing what is right, and the consequences of wrong behavior.
Mhm.
And maybe that'll help. But this is very difficult, because uh, those who you think are your friends today sometimes betray you.
Most times
And
we
and oh, I remember the word. They're toxic friends. They're
Mhm.
not people that you need to be with. And it's hard to tell your friend. You know, kids, everybody's their friend.
Mhm.
But what they have to learn is that there are those who would be your friends, but they're toxic. They don't have anything good for you.
Mhm.
So it's hard as a community to do that, because it
We're in
is.
an age where don't tell me what to do or don't tell my kids what to do neither.
Man, I was at the hospital the other day. Yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, I was at the hospital. And I'm sitting outside waiting for my ride. Two little kids on a scooter went by. Do you know what they kept saying? The F word over. F, F, F. I'm an older woman sitting there. They
Mhm.
looked at me. Kept on going. Then I guess he must have dropped his friend off. He comes back and does the same thing. What
Mhm.
kind of stuff is that?
Mhm.
No respect.
Mhm.
Period.
Hmm. Well, at the same time, even though everybody doesn't have respect, sometimes the people who should be protecting us ain't got no respect for you. So if by chance, and I'm gonna use the example that I seen on TV.
Mhm.
Majority of the time, I know being a cop. Well, let me back it up first. When I retired, I was already told there's X amount of jobs, meaning one or two, that there's no way in heck that I could go into. One was to be a fireman, one was to be a cop. That's a normal progression for somebody who has military training.
Okay.
Well, they go ahead.
So you're saying that you were told that now you've been in the military, you were told that you could not progress to these occupations or that you could?
Oh no, in the military, you sit here and obtain bachelor's, master's, PhDs, whatever you wanted to do. But you still have to remember what is the job you have to do. Meaning everybody was a soldier. You're supposed to pick up a rifle when it's time. When I mentally mean when it's time to go. Belinda has been in the military. I have been in the military. If the job requires for one of us to leave our families, all you can sit there and say is, I love you to death and pray I come back. That's it. Nothing else. Go do your job.
Okay.
When you get outside, since you always have that military training, an easy transition would be to another job, which would be like a cop. I protect mine, you protect yours. Right. Meaning you cover my back, I cover yours.
Right.
But this incident that I'm talking about when the people you are supposed to protect you sit here and mess up, was basically they were cops. They were white cops. Just for example, they went looking for a house. I forgot exactly where the incident was. They went looking for a house. They knew of an address. Just say, quote unquote, the address they were supposed to be looking for is 5805. Now, the dispatcher may have given them the wrong information, and the house they ended up at was 5806. Okay. While the cops were sitting there debating, do we have the right information or not? Or what one of them did, went and knocked on the front door. Okay. Everybody knows that sometimes it's not the best thing to go walk on somebody's house. I mean, go to somebody's house, knock on their door, even if you're a cop, because these times, everybody has a gun.
Right, right.
So when they knocked on the door, the first thing cops always do is back up to protect themselves. Now, the guy in the house didn't know who was knocking on his door at old dark 30. But they knocked. He went to the door with his gun. Okay. First thing the cops did was shoot him. Of course. He's now dead on his porch. Okay. In the movie, in the show, you can hear his wife screaming, "Oh my God," loud. So the cops are in their defensive mode. The wife comes outside, not knowing who shot her husband, came out with her gun. And she shot, and the cops shot. Guess what? Y'all didn't say nothing to her in the end because of what she's done. I know she got arrested and all the rest of that stuff there. But they found out the house they were looking for is right across the street from them. That's it. So all the hell you didn't cause this family, now her husband's dead. Absolutely. Only thing the cops are going to say is, I'm sorry, in the heat of this, we made decisions. So she sues, she gets some money, but that's not going to bring back her husband. That's the time of another type of period that we are in. I would not trust a cop, even though where I live at, the chief of police is on the next street. The mayor, the previous mayor, and the current mayor both live on the other street. I'm just going to assume that they would take care of them before they take care of us. As a matter of fact, just so that for content's point, one day, Belinda and I were sitting at this table we're sitting at right now. And we had somebody come and bang on our door. We didn't know who it is. So I went to the front door and looked. It looked like somebody who had a bag. The bag that he had on is the same exact bag that EMTs have when they first come to the place. Okay. So I went outside and went to talk to them. The next thing I know is two people come from walking around our house to the front of the house. Or two firemen. And I'm wondering, what the hell is this? Who the hell are y'all? Well, they sat there and said, well, they got a 911 call for a house. Our house number is 3708. The house they were looking for is 3703. So after they got through talking to me, they had to call back to their station to get the right number. And the fireman walked down the street. But I have a 6'5" fence, what I mean by that, I have a 6-foot fence. They jumped over it trying to get to my house to try and help me. Technically, in a sense, I would have been wrong if I'd have shot them, even though they're trying to help me.
Right.
This is what I mean by sometimes the good guys are just as bad as anything else. So I don't know, beyond what Dorita said, that's another part of the thing, which is right now, even for me, in the neighborhood I live in, is what they call a upper neighborhood. I know maybe 2 or 3 people on the street. I don't know everybody on this street. Nobody associates. They ain't coming out of their house. I'm not coming out of mine. So that's just, to me, that's just the environment, the additional part of the environment that we're all living in. I don't understand, but that's where we're sitting at right now. It's just bad all the way around.
Neighborly community has gone out the window.
Yeah, that's out the door. That's
It's
gone.
so important to know your neighbors, good or bad.
Yes.
But like I said, you just never know. This past, it's been probably 2 years now. A SWAT team showed up in the neighborhood, and my camera was like, and I looked at my camera, and I'm like, what? Big black truck, guys dressed in black, all kinds of guns, a bazooka, a door busting, and I'm like, what is this? They went to the house on one side first, and I heard them say, "Oh no, that's not the address."
My.
Then they went across my yard, and I'm like, what is going on here? So I peeked out the porch. It was probably like 25 men, 4 trucks, and
they come in fully locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded to the
And
house
not even sure of the correct information.
house next door. Mind you, there was a young man who lived there, his girlfriend, her 2 kids, and sometime they had his little girls there. But you gonna go to a house like that?
Yes. Oh, yes.
They were not there. I don't know if they got wind or something. And then later on, after all that, 2 detectives came to my house to ask me questions. I said, I don't know anything about that. I don't know I don't know nothing. So you just.
And Dorita, you do know that these days, when that detective comes in to do their investigation, and since you're right across the street or down the street from that person, they act like, the detectives act like you know them. When you say you don't know anything, they suddenly suspect you of lying. So now,
Well,
wait a minute.
I have to say, they were very nice. They didn't come back anymore. I told them I didn't know nothing. They ain't bothered me.
Check. That's a good one.
But the
Well,
other,
I have seen enough bad ones to sit there and say, "Oh my goodness,"
yeah,
because
I've
sooner
never
or later
seen
you could be the
again.
person, by them doing their research, you could be the person you're looking for. Lord help me, the first thing they want to do is call you on your private phone number, sit there saying, "I'm from the police department. I need you to come downtown and have a conversation." And then all of a sudden it's 12 hours later. They know you're tired, but they still trying to get information.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know nothing about that. I've never been.
You're not gonna know nothing about that,
And
Mom.
plus,
Hopefully
and
neither
plus you
neither
need to
are
know,
you, Uncle.
you need to know your neighbors, because my neighbor across the street, no activity. I didn't pay no attention because he's a hermit, blah, blah, blah. He keeps to himself, keeps his yard nice. His yard wasn't messy, blah, 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 blah. So finally I call for a well check. The police go there, and he's in there, and he's dead. And he's been dead 3 months. So you got to know your neighbors. I say,
Yes.
I say to them, if I don't see no activity over there, I'm going to wonder what's wrong.
At least enough to say that yes.
Yeah, to have the
Let's
police go
look out
check
for
it
each other a little
out.
bit. That's what neighborly community is about. Love thy neighbor. All right. Well, I thank you so much for joining me on this owl theory. I appreciate all the great information
Ooh,
from my wise lineage.
we told you we could cover an hour.
You said who? It's
Absolutely.
been more than an hour, but you said who?
That's the owl in us.
Yeah.
But I surely appreciate it. And please join us again next time on Owl Theory. Until then, peace.
Peace.
Love.
Bam. Take care.
It's so.
Yes, thank you so much, family. And I enjoy doing this podcast each time with my family. Our theory will come again, and we'll be talking economics and education. Does this breed wealth? We'll be going over some family history and getting the opinions of my wise lineage. Until then, be safe, wise, and be loved.